Well, howdy. Here we are again. That's starting to be my opening phrase, here we are again. So I guess we'll just keep doing that. Anyway, just got done doing a video log. I'm out at camp here, RVML Campground and Range. Ran into Wakefield and kind of did a video log that kind of turned into an idea, and I'll probably use some of that video in this video. But for this video, it's going to be one of the story videos. So got back and put some wood in the stove, split some wood, got some lunch, but I'm not really ready for lunch yet, so phone battery was about dead after doing that video, so now I'm on the camcorder. Just thought I'd get started on this one. It might be kind of long, but hang in there with me. Maybe if it gets too long, I'll make a part 2 or something. Really, these videos need to stay under 30 minutes or so, but I notice once I get to talking and things come to mind, or I'm telling a story or whatever, it seems like they write it an hour long. So, but anyway, the idea was was talking about past things, and you know, my memories from when I was young. It's not necessarily a story. There's the dog. She thinks I'm talking to her. That's okay. But yeah, I was just having lots of fond memories this morning. Woke up in a pretty good mood. Well, woke up at 2:30 this morning, but when the sun came up, I just felt pretty good. I'm in a chipper mood, and it's a good time to do a story time or whatever. So, but anyway, I was talking about my past memories, and I was talking about back in old Boy Scout days when I was, you know, between the ages of 9.5 and 18. Most of my good memories are from when I was younger, but anyway, driving back to camp, I was thinking I've got some pictures that my mom and dad had taken with the old style cameras and whatever, and I've got a scanner, and I haven't done this yet, and it maybe making this video now, it's a good time to do that, but scan all those old pictures back when I was in scouts, campouts, whatever. You know, the whole thing about making these video logs and stories and working on the pictures, you know, is for when I'm maybe years from now when I'm gone. And I hadn't even thought about it yet, but some of those pictures that are in those albums haven't been scanned yet, so this is a good opportunity to do that, and I'll add some of those pictures in this video as a slideshow. So I've got several videos that I need to edit yet, and again, I love editing. I'm starting to learn it, and I just love doing it, so it'll give me stuff to do during the week or when I'm sitting around bored. But anyway, might just do a walkabout here, give that a try with the camcorder. I got it on a tripod, but I thought I set it up in kind of a cool spot in front of the tent, but the rope was right there and it was driving me nuts. So anyway, I might go out in the sunshine here and talk a little bit. I know when you're doing camera stuff, the the lighting is a big deal, so I might just, I don't know, that light feels pretty good. And I'm messing up right now because I'm supposed to tell you that I'm going to move and then edit the movement out. You're supposed to edit your camera movements out, but oh well, I'm still catching on, and I remember stuff after I've already done it. So if I hadn't been talking while I was walking, that'd be different. But anyway, Boy Scouts. Okay, so I was in Troop 54, Clay Center, Kansas. I joined when I was old enough. Maybe I'll stand over here in case I want to put a picture over here. I don't know how I'm going to do this yet, but of course you really don't need to see me. I could be talking and you could be looking at pictures. So I loved it from the very start. I really think that being in the Scouts helped make me the outdoorsman and the man that I am today. You know, I kind of already loved the outdoors from about the same time, or maybe earlier on, going out with my uncles, camping and boating and fishing and hunting, and I fit right in from the very start. I can tell you, I remember my very first camp out. Froze my tail off. It was in the winter time. They could have done a little bit better job at, you know, bringing new boys in as far as what to bring. They just said, bring this, and your sleeping bag. Well, Mom went down. She didn't know. She went down and got me a sleeping bag from Gibson's, which was a summer bag. And I had that sleeping bag, a sleeping pad, and a blanket, a thin blanket. But yeah, that wasn't enough. You know, it was getting, like I say, we went out in February. It wasn't snow on the ground or nothing, but it was getting cold at night. It was probably highs in the 30s during the day and way below freezing at night. And yeah, I think thank God for the Scoutmaster and the Assistant Scoutmaster, Bob McCann, sorry, was the Assistant Scoutmaster, and Norm Klataski was the Scoutmaster. Norm's gone now. He passed on some years back from melanoma, or skin cancer. And I always wondered too, even back when I was a kid, his skin looked funny, you know, with different colors and bumps and whatever, and I think he had that a lot of his life. But anyway, just had a lot of good adventures in the Scouts. Our thing was, maybe I'll go ahead and just walk. It seems like this morning when I was talking and walking, that seemed to be pretty cool. Our thing was, we camped once a month, rain or shine, sleet nor hail, even camped in a few tornadoes. Now, if they knew or they thought it was going to be really severe weather, we would cancel and change the date, you know. But a lot of the times you don't, especially back then, we're talking in the, you know, mid to upper 70s and the early 80s. We didn't have the cell phones with the weather apps or whatever. You just had to kind of sort of, if you did watch TV, get a gist of it and figure out if we got bad stuff coming or not in the forecast. And it was a lot like it is now. you know, back then. You couldn't hardly 100% believe what you see, because that's not an exacting science. But anyway, learned a lot of outdoor skills. You know, we did everything, mostly with the outdoors. Not real good light here, but I think I'm going to stop right here and we'll talk some. But so we're talking knife and axe, fire building, first aid, cooking, just all the things that go along with camping and outdooring. And we had merit badges and awards, skill awards that we could earn by learning this stuff, and I'm trying to remember a lot of them. They even had ham radio. Well, they do now. They didn't then, I guess. But knot tying and just general survival stuff that is very popular now. Or always was popular, but more popular now. With the whole prepping thing and bushcraft and whatever. You know, we were doing that 30, 40 years ago in the Boy Scouts. They still do those same things in the Scouts, just the Scouts aren't quite the same as it used to be back then. But you know, I've been an on again, off again scouter all my life. But basically, when you turn 18, you're no longer able to be a Boy Scout. Now you can go into leadership, which I did, junior assistant scoutmaster for a while, and things like that. And then throughout the years as an adult, you know, I volunteered as an adult. You know, I did archery for some camporees, ham radio. We even had the Scouts out here for a few years there at our Thanksgiving in the woods here. And pretty cool stuff, but very interesting time in my life. You know, like I mentioned in the video this morning, that I was thinking back about all the times when I was young, before change, when I thought life was really fun and enjoyable, which I still do. Just, you think about old memories and, you know, think, man, that was more awesomer than it is now. That's one of my redneck words, more awesomer. But just traveling around, so let's get back to our camping schedule. Our troop camped every weekend throughout the year, and then throughout the year also there was what they call camporees, which are when multiple troops get together and camp together and actually compete for different things together. The troops we'd set up stations, fire building, knot tying, whatever it may be. We'd compete against other troops, and good times. And usually there was 2 or 3 of those a year. And maybe I'll splice in my video from this morning here. I was talking about one of them that we had close by at South Timber Creek in near Wakefield on Milford Lake. That was one that we went to, and we traveled around different ones. And maybe we'll get moving here again. Also, every year we would go to summer camp. And at summer camp was when we were off of school. Maybe I'll change arms here. My right arm's a little stronger. This camera here is a little heavier than the phone, but oh, got dark on us here. That's all right. So summer camp was in the summer, of course, when we were off school. Usually it was a week-long deal. And we would go as a troop, camp for a week, and do all kinds of fun things, even stuff that we didn't do normally on our regular troop camping trips. But we always worked on merit badges, took classes. There was classes held throughout the day. A lot of the times the boys could sign up for upwards of 6 classes a day, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon-ish, that usually were an hour and a half or an hour long, you know. We ate in the dining hall. We had outhouses, so we didn't. It opened our day up. We didn't have to cook and clean up and all that. So, and the summer camps had a pool. We could take swimming merit badge, or certain times a day. After classes were over and before dinner, we could go just swim in the pool on certain days. There was horseback riding. We had a rifle range. You could go shoot 22 rifles. Of course, shooting merit badge or rifle. I can't remember if it was called shooting sports or rifle merit badge, but anyway, it was just a fun time. And later in life, and I always went every year, you know, Mom and Dad always made sure they would save the money up to be able to send me to camp, because it's always been kind of expensive. You know, you gotta, you know, a lot of expense per person to spend a week in something like that. I don't know what it runs now, but it seems like it was, back then it was $70, $80, or $90 for the week, which back in the 70s was a lot of money. But we got a lot out of it. It was awesome. Awesome, awesome. So we went, we had 2 scout ranches here in Kansas. Camp Hansen, which was out west, and then Camp Brown, which is south of Abilene. And when I was an older scout, I was still under 18 or right around 18, I actually served on camp staff. I actually taught archery at summer camp for the summer, which was pretty darn awesome. Maybe that was after I turned 18. I remember I was still in high school, but instead of actually going to summer camp with the troop for a week, I went to summer camp as camp staff. Spent 4 weeks at one ranch, and then went to the other one for another 4 weeks, with a week in between. So, but anyway, cool stuff. But then there's, you know, you wouldn't have to stay within your state to go to summer camp. There were scout ranches all over, and you could actually sign up your troop to go to any summer camp in any state you wanted. And we did that once. Yeah, only once that I remember when I was in, but we went to a place called Spanish Peaks Scout Ranch, which was at the base of Spanish Peak in the mountain range there in southeastern Colorado. Camped in the mountains. The scout ranch was in the mountains, and that was a really fun trip. Did that when I was maybe 16-ish. And again, like all my videos, I'm not going to be able to remember exact details and dates, but I can give you an idea. And I remember I was a little bit older because I only took a few merit badge classes, and then in the afternoons I actually signed up for more high adventure stuff that they offered that didn't pertain to merit badges or taking classes. And just for an example, up there at Spanish Peaks, they offered a rock climbing thing. So I think for 4 or 5 days of the 7 days, I spent the afternoons with a group of us, with some adult mountain climbers and scouters that did mountain climbing. We started out slow, learning the basics, the ropes and the harnesses and everything, and how to do it. And then they started us out slow. We was climbing some 10, 12-foot boulders and learning rappelling and then whatever. And then the second to the last day of camp, we spent the whole day. We hiked a trail. It was probably 1.5 miles long, and got to, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a natural occurring rock wall that come off of the side of the mountain, and was really long. It was like 1 mile long, but on the back side of this thing was, see if I can remember for sure, it was like 180 feet. From the very top down to the bottom, and it was like 5, 6, 8 feet wide at the top, and it was flat. And it was really cool. So we would climb up there on top and rappel down, and then climb the rock pile up to the top and get to the top again and rappel down. And then some of us, if we wanted to, actually would climb. Of course, with ropes and belayers and everything, would climb from the bottom to the top, which took quite a while. And if I remember, there was only 2 in our group that did that. Jake McCann and Scott Buckner actually climbed from the bottom to the top, and then rappelled down. The rest of us just enjoyed the rappelling part. And I remember, I believe Andy Hogan was in that group of us. I can't remember for sure. I know Scott and Jake were in that group out of our troop. But anyway, did a lot of fun stuff in the Boy Scouts. We always wore a uniform. Hey, I'm going to put the sun back here like this. There, the sun's directly behind, so I should be lit up really good, probably except my eyes. One year when I was 16 or 17, it wasn't even a summer camp per se. It was what they call a high adventure base, and one or multiple or even a whole troop could sign up and go to these high adventure bases all around. And it was similar to summer camp, just no classes or anything. You just went to camp and do all the fun things for that area. And I did that once. Went to Ely, Minnesota in the wintertime, right after Christmas, and did winter camping. I spent a week actually there camping. It was quite the adventure, you know, getting there and getting back with the group. We went together. The Clay Center troop and the Manhattan troop joined forces, and all the boys that wanted to go, we took the Troop 54 blue bus and drove from Clay Center all the way to Ely, Minnesota, which was basically it's in the Boundary Waters National Park, right on the Canadian border, about in the middle of Minnesota, right at the northern edge. In fact, I actually hiked, well, I didn't hike, but snowshoed into Canada and didn't realize I was in Canada until the group of boys I was with, we stopped for lunch and peeled the map out to figure out where we were, and looking at landmarks. And you know how you do, you coordinate your map and look at landmarks and take bearings and draw lines on the map, and we discovered we were 1/2 mile over the Canadian border. So I've been to Canada once. I guess you could call it illegal, but we did, you know, And that was in the early 80s, I think. And I've only got one photograph of that, and that was Mom took a picture of me standing in the living room while I was walking out the door when Jerry Hogan come to pick me up at 1 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, that was really fun. And that same high adventure base, you can go up there in the summertime and do a canoe trip where you're canoeing. That's the land of a million lakes or whatever up there. But never went up there in the summer. I kind of wished I would have been able to, but again, this was back when we didn't have fancy digital cameras or phones with cameras on them or whatever. And as a scouter, I always carried a little disposable camera, but I hardly took any pictures really with it, because as a young boy you don't think about that stuff when you're out camping and having fun. Oh, I got the camera in my backpack. I literally think I only took maybe a half dozen pictures, if that, and then I don't even know if I have them anymore. Most of the pictures that I have of me as a young man in Scouts was taken by my parents. So a lot of these pictures you'll see in the slideshows off and on in this video were taken by them or others, and my mom got copies or whatever. So, but at least I do have some pictures of when I was in Scouts. And I'm trying to remember lots of stories. What I need to do is do another, oh, there's the sun. Do another video and include Sean Stewart in this, because a lot of times he can remember stuff that I can't. That pertains to everything, not just Scouts, but I forget a lot. Probably I've forgotten more than what I can remember, and that's kind of why I'm doing these story videos. But anyway, Boy Scouts was really an awesome experience in my childhood that I wouldn't ever give up. I'm kind of thinking I wished I'd have worked harder and done more as an adult, you know, thinking back, but still pretty fun. I can remember that trip to Colorado. Just a quick side story. The alternator in the old bus was overcharging, so we kept boiling the battery out. Stopped several times to, I can't remember exactly what it was. They'd put water in the battery, or we were smelling a nasty smell from a, you know, boiled out battery all the time, and different things. And I think it even blew some fuses and whatever, and we'd pull over and they'd work on it some. You know, it was Bob and Norm, and I think there was one other adult that went, but I can't remember who. They kept the bus going. And I remember there at for the last several miles, they jerry-rigged things and whatever, got the bus started, and then they unhooked the battery. And they put the positive battery terminal in a glass jar or some darn thing so it wouldn't cook the battery. You know, those older vehicles, they'll still run without the battery. Once you get them started, whatever electronics that, you know, to make them run for the distributor and whatever, could get that directly off the alternator without having the battery. So I can remember not ever turning the bus off until we got there. Like from about halfway across Kansas on into the other half of Kansas, and then on into Colorado and up the mountain. We never turned the bus off with the battery out of it like that. It seemed like we had to get jump start a couple times, pulling into a fuel stop and turning it off, and then, you know, and it seemed like they didn't want to replace the battery because they would have needed to replace the alternator too, and they thought they could just limp it there and back, and then do the repairs when we got back, which worked just fine. Those older vehicles, you know, as long as the engine can run and the headlights can work for night driving and everything like that. A lot of the electronics didn't work, so we didn't have, of course it didn't have air conditioning. It had a heater. They didn't want to run the blower motor, you know, because the no battery in the alternator was overcharging and things like that, so we never ran the blower motor. Didn't really need to anyway. It was in the summer. Didn't have AC, so didn't need that anyway, and it never got cold enough anywhere to need the heat. So, but anyway, that's a little side story. We stopped off at a few really cool places on the way, which we always did. If we ever went anywhere, we always stopped, did a little sightseeing along the way. I can remember stopping and seeing the biggest ball of string in Kansas. I'm sure we stopped at a few. Oh, Old Ben's Fort. You can Google that. It's out in western Kansas. We stopped there for lunch break. I can remember when we was at Old Ben's Fort, they had a drinking fountain there that you could get a drink from, and it just had the nastiest tasting, smelly water coming out of there. And I didn't even remember this story until Sean reminded me, but we were joking around with our other scouts, saying that, oh, you got to go get a drink of that pure spring water. Just the best tasting water you ever had. And then they'd go get a big old swig and say, ooh, yuck, or spit it out or whatever. That's the kind of stuff, you know, young boys do to each other, and didn't even remember that, and you know, until Sean reminded me. And that's the thing about, you know, not just the scouts, but everything. You get with your friends and get to talking about old times, and I'll tell some stories that they don't remember, and they'll tell some stories that I totally forgot about or don't even remember or whatever, and that's why I say I ought to do another video in the stories about the scouts with Sean, or maybe even a few of the other scouts. Everybody get together and just tell them I want to do some videotaping and see what they think. But anyway, let's see, did I cover a lot of the basics? Our monthly campouts, our camporees, summer camp. Oh yeah, every so many years, maybe lately it's more often than not, but they do a big national, or not, well, it was national, this one, but to celebrate the Boy Scouts as a whole, like their birthday. I can remember going to the 75th Diamond Jamboree is what they called it. It was, the Boy Scouts was officially 75 years old, and I was probably 16 or 17, maybe 15, I don't know, but it was held in Wichita, Kansas, and a lot of the troops from all around Kansas, even some from Oklahoma, converged in Wichita. And it was a big celebration. All kinds of things going on. We had a parade. We had, I just even don't remember. I know we swam in the river, I think. Lots of stuff, fun stuff for boys to do. Here's one of our shooting lanes. Maybe I'll stop here for a little bit. And I'm walking up the range road. So along this road is targets to shoot at on our muzzleloader range. But anyway, I think I have a picture or two here that I'll add. I know there's a picture of us there when we got there with the big blue bus. Seemed like it was a black and white picture of us after we set up camp and we're getting our swimming trunks on to go swimming. Bob McCann took a lot of pictures back then, and he liked to do black and white exposures. So in fact, you might have saw, or I will show, a really good picture of our troop at Camp Brown right before we left from summer camp, in front of the sign there at Marydale, Camp Brown Memorial Park there south of Abilene. That was in black and white, taken by Bob McCann. He had a pretty high-zoot 35mm camera and shared the pictures with whoever wanted them, so we got a couple copies there. And yeah, at this point, making this video, I haven't even scanned those photos yet, but guess what? That's going to be something I'm going to set up and sit down and do. I'll take those pictures one at a time out of a photo album that I have that my mom made me about the Boy Scouts, and get them scanned and get them in a file so I can share them here, and then they're on the hard drive too for later down the road. Which brings me to the next subject. There was I don't know what you call it, a kind of a satellite organization, and if you're kind of interested, you can Google it. It's still around. It was Boy Scouts, but it was a higher level of scouting, called the Order of the Arrow. And I was inducted into the Order of the Arrow when I was probably 15. And that's something that lasts a lifetime. When I moved back to Kansas here, even when I was out in Idaho, I was contacted, but they kind of rode me pretty hard there for a while when I moved back to Kansas, and someone that I know told someone else and told someone else that I was back in Kansas, and basically still a lifelong scouter. They tried to get me reactive in Order of the Arrow, because they still need, but they needed leaders, older adults really bad, to stay active in the Order of the Arrow. And I really thought about it, and just I've got a whole lot of other stuff going on and didn't really want to get back involved. I've thought about getting involved with the Scouts here, but as an adult, but I'm starting to not really remember a whole lot, and my thinking, you know, that's not the only thing, just it seems like, I don't know, I just wasn't for sure if I would be a good help to them or not. But I would volunteer part-time here and there to help out and teach, like archery or ham radio or whatever. And I've actually over the years approached a few troops. In fact, I've talked to our local troop a few times, Troop 54 there in Clay, about ham radio, and always just kind of get the blow-by or the roll off the shoulder. Yeah, we should maybe do that. I'll let you know and see what the boys want, and then never get a phone call back. So we've invited the Boy Scouts to our ham radio field days when we were having them in the at the fairgrounds there in Clay Center after I moved back, but they never came. So you can't force them. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, I guess. But anyway, let's see, what else can I tell you about Boy Scouts back then? I always loved going to the meetings. Hardly ever missed a meeting ever. I'm up here almost at the end of the range road, and we've got I'll show you here, we've got a game camera here, and I don't want to get on the game cam, but it's right there on that tree. That's Sean's game cam. And then the last 3 or 4 targets right here, but I'll stop here and talk a little bit, and then we'll head back the other way on my little walk here. See, where was I? Man, see, it left me. Can't remember where I left off. Talking about scouting as an adult. But let's get back to remembering the past, because that was just awesome. You know, everybody misses their childhood, and I do, very much so. Again, like I was talking my video this morning, you know, about thinking about the past and changes and different things. I just have nothing but fond memories. You know, a lot of times you think about your past and you think about woulda, coulda, shoulda, what could you have changed, different things. I do it, everybody does it. They say it's not really healthy for you to do that, but I think about those things. But I tell you what, the Boy Scouts wasn't one of them. Yeah, the only thing, like I say, is I wished I'd worked harder and accomplished more. But I was very active in our scout troop. Like I say, unless I was dying in my deathbed from pneumonia or something in the winter, I would never miss a scout meeting. I'm seeing some fresh deer tracks right here. Coyote tracks too, or maybe that's Jessie tracks, because she's right over there. Right over there. The Jessie Poo. She normally goes about everywhere with me. But let's see, let's get back on topic here. Never missed a meeting. I tried very much to never miss a camp out, which I don't believe I ever did. Never missed a summer camp. I thoroughly enjoyed wearing the uniform. Just made me feel really good to wear that uniform, and I think it doesn't matter what in life that you do, whether you're in the military or a police officer, fire department, whatever. That just, I mean, I'm sure it does something different for everybody, but in general, I think that just makes you feel really good. Makes you feel like you've accomplished something. Gives a statement to people that see you. Get you noticed. I mean, I'm just trying to think of all the things that I felt when I wore that uniform. And I still have my last original uniform. Of course, I'm too fat to fit into it. I thought about if I ever did get involved with the Scouts again, that I'd go all out and get me a uniform that fit and get all the patches on there. In fact, maybe when I'm scanning my photos and things, maybe I'll get my old Boy Scout box out. Oh, that's another thing we can talk about. So we had merit badges that we earned, and we'd get a little patch, a little round patch with a symbol on it, symbolizing what it was. I can't remember, I think there was 24, 26 merit badges back when I was in. And I've got 21 of those. You have to earn those before you turn 18. I've got what they call skill awards, and usually you earn those when you're a younger scout. You can earn those throughout the whole time you're in the Scouts, but they were little metal, little copper-plated metal squares that would actually slide onto the Boy Scout belt. I can't remember how many of them I got, but I got all the crucial ones. Then, of course, I mentioned the Order of the Arrow. Got two different sashes. Oh, before I move on to sashes, these merit badges, the round patches, you would put on a sash that you wear from your shoulder down. If anybody's ever seen a Boy Scout wearing a green sash with the little patches on it, that's what those are. And then the Order of the Arrow, there was 3 different classes in the Order of the Arrow, and I was the second, the middle class. And basically, it's a white sash with a red arrow on it. And when you first get in, you earn the first sash, which is just the arrow. Then when you move up in rank, I guess you could say, in the Order of the Arrow, it's the same sash, but then there's a bar across the middle of the arrow on the sash. That's called the Brotherhood. And I can't remember what the third one was called, but it was the same sash, same arrow, but had 2 bars on it. So, very neat. And to wear your uniform with all the patches and awards, and oh, it was awesome. Just like the military, just made you feel good. All your accomplishments you were wearing on your clothes. Of course, the main uniform had the identification, or troop 54 Clay Center, the area council, which we were in Coronado Area Council, which is this area of Kansas. I think Kansas was divided into 6 pieces. We had an Order of the Arrow patch that went on the other shoulder that was black and had some symbolizing things on it. Maybe I'll add the uniform pictures right here as I'm describing. You had pocket patches to tell what patrol you were in, which is kind of like the military. So we're in Troop 54, and then our troop had 3 patrols, which we divided the scouts up equally into smaller groups, and they did activities and learning and whatever all together. And you had a patrol leader, assistant patrol leader. So we had 3. It was the Tiger Patrol, the Bear Patrol, and the Cobra Patrol, and which was pretty cool. So that patch would be on one pocket, what patrol you're in. The other pocket was what I'm leading up to now, is any kind of training that you have. You get a training patch and you display the latest training award that you've earned, which is all kinds of training. And normally this is extra training that's required of the older boys to be patrol leader or assistant scout master or senior patrol leader. You would display that above the pocket. Maybe I should explain that too. So in the rankings in the Boy Scouts, you have Scoutmaster, Assistant Scoutmaster, Secretary, Treasurer. And then you have the junior leadership, which is Junior Assistant Scoutmaster. If you've got a boy that's right at 18 or over 18, is staying in to basically learning the Scoutmaster role for later, and helping and whatever. And then you have the senior patrol, which are the older boys. Usually you have 2 of them. There can be more, but you have senior patrol leader and assistant senior patrol leader, and then everybody else in the senior patrol just are in the senior patrol. They don't really have a ranking. But these are the older boys that are between the Scoutmaster and the patrol leaders. And then you have the patrol leader, an assistant patrol leader, and then you have just the members of the patrol. There's not really any rank after that, other than whatever rank that the particular scout is. So let's get back to that open pocket we haven't talked about. So anytime we would go to an extracurricular event like summer camp, or having a brain fart here, and I was just talking about it earlier, camporees, or any kind of special event, or even like this event I told you, the 75th annual jamboree, or anything, you would get a patch for attending that particular event. And you would put that on that pocket. And you always wore the last event that you attended on that pocket until you get a new patch, go to the next event and get another one, then you'd switch it out. So, and I've got quite the collection of those. Maybe I might have missed a few of those, but I don't think so. I think I went to most of them. But in the 8 years I was in, you figure you get 3 or 4 or 5 of those a year, sometimes more. Well, counting summer camp, a half a dozen a year. You collect those quite a bit, and I have a gallon Ziploc bag almost completely full of those. Let me show you where I'm at here. We just came from that direction, and I've been kind of walking. We're down to the other end of the range now. You can see Jesse down there. Anyway, maybe I'll stop here and talk a little bit. Looks like we're up to almost an hour, so maybe I'll end this here pretty soon. But anyway, so that's what I can remember. Oh, we had Class A's and Class B's in our uniform too. So we had the Class A's was an actual Boy Scout uniform. Brown shirt, green pants, green socks if we wore shorts. With the web belt, green web belt, very similar to a military belt. And a lot of the times we had hats. And our troop was kind of unique because a lot of us wore 2 Class A uniforms. We wore the brown and green, but then our scout troop had a vast collection of older, I would almost say antique, what's the term I'm looking for? Vintage scout shirts, which was green to match the pants. So a lot of us had one of those uniforms too, with all the patches, so we had to double up on the patches. And a lot of the times we would, especially at events, we would all coordinate, okay, we're going to wear modern Class A's or vintage Class A's, you know. And when the whole troop's standing there all in the green shirts, and a lot of the scouts and scouters hadn't seen shirts like that, you know, maybe the adult leaders did, but 30, 40 years ago. And so we got an eye-opener when we wore those vintage uniforms. And then with the vintage uniform, usually we had the military style envelope type hat that we wore with it. When we wore our brown modern uniforms, back then they didn't have a hat to match that. So we made our own hats that we wore with our Class A's or our Class B's, which was just a ball cap, a summertime ball cap. It was white in the back, mesh, blue in the front, and then it had a patch on it that said Troop, or no, it was printed. It was a printed hat that said Troop 54, Clay Center, Kansas on it. And then our Class B's were basically the green shorts or the green pants, and then it was a t-shirt. And if I remember right, it was a sky blue t-shirt with a logo on it. It says Clay Center, Kansas, Troop 54, Clay Center, Kansas. Or it seemed like it said that on the back, and then it had the scout emblem on the chest or something. I'd have to look. I still have my Class B as well, and I have my shirts from summer camp as well. They were Class B's, but they were strictly for camp staff. It said Camp Brown Memorial Park or Campground, summer camp staff, and then it had the year on it or whatever. And I think they were red the year that I was there, and they were really sharp. But anyway, scouting is just a lot of fun, and it teaches the boys a lot of life lessons, as well as all the things that you learn if you're to be an outdoorsman, survival training, camping etiquette. I mean, you name it. And it was just, we were always in the parade. We marched in the parade. We did a lot of events. We were at a lot of events to either help out, you name it. We had a lot of fundraisers. We'd have soup suppers and chili feeds and watermelon feeds and all kinds of things to try to earn money for the boys, to go to summer camp, fuel for the bus or whatever it may be. What I should do is see if I can pull out my memory. We had a scout law and a scout oath. I don't know if I can recite the scout law 100% right now, but I might be able to remember the scout oath because it's really hard to learn, and it was one of those things that you try really hard to learn at a younger age, and it sticks with you. And it goes, Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Stuck with me. Now the Scout Law, I'm not even going to attempt, because it seems like the last time I thought about it, I was forgetting parts of it. But it starts out, on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout Law. And then maybe later I'll look it up and read it out loud, because I could probably get to the end, but it seems like there's a chunk there that I always forget to say, so I'm not even going to attempt it and make an ass of myself. But anyway, Boy Scouts 101. Alright, we'll try this again. I'm here at home in the office doing the edit for this video, and I realized that the very ending closing portion of the video got corrupted somehow, so I'm just wanting to say we're coming to the end here. Hopefully you didn't think it was too long, and take care for now, And I'm out.